Hola, buenos días. Me llamo Señorita Taylor. Soy la profesora de español para las 4 escuelas aquí en Chapo. This video lesson is about los vegetales, or sometimes we can call them las verduras. Kind of depends on region. We're going to use vegetales because when you look at the word, you can see it's a cognate with vegetables. But verduras also works, and as you can see, the word verde is in there. So this is like calling them greens, okay? Overall, in comparison to the fruits list, the vegetables is a harder list of words to learn because only one of our words is as easy as like banana and tomate were to learn, and that is broccoli. Okay, might as well learn this now. Broccoli. For the rest of our words, we're going to have to use some tricks, and sometimes we're just going to have to use some grit to master these words. You know, because sometimes in life, not everything's going to come easy, right? It's awesome when some things come easy, but when other things come a little bit more with more difficulty, we just kind of have to roll up our sleeves and get down to work, right? Put the time in, put the effort in, come up with our own tricks, play games, do whatever we need to do until we master that word or that other skill, okay? So broccoli is our easy word. You can see it looks essentially the same as broccoli. Broccoli, okay? Broccoli. So there's our one and only super easy word. Now, the next couple are kind of like so-so. So don't feel panicked already because these ones are going to take some work, but maybe not as much as some of the ones at the end of the video. All right, so the next word, papa. Papa. So papa is potato. It starts with a P. That can help us out a lot, right? However, papa can get confusing because papa means dad. So one tiny little change in sound can affect the way your word is understood by someone else. So papa, potato. Papa, dad. And I've drawn a little picture kind of to show this. So we have in this picture, papa, papa. So dad potato. Papa, papa. It's kind of like the Mr. Potato idea, but it's father potato. Papa, papa. Okay, so if you practice and you see papa has an accent over the second A. So that last syllable is the strong one. Whereas in papa, potato, it's the first ba, okay? This may be confusing. If you accidentally say dad, I'm not going to laugh at you. I'm going to be here to support you and to help you get better. You are going to make this mistake a bunch of times, and that's okay. But our goal is that you eventually get over it because if you go to a restaurant and you order papas, they're going to look at you strangely until they figure it out, right? And we also don't want to greet dad at home and be like, hola, papa, hi, potato. Dad's not really going to enjoy that so much. So we eventually want to figure out the difference, but that might take a little work. So papa, potato, papa, dad. Okay. Next word. Lechuga. Lechuga. Now, one thing that makes lechuga a little easier is that it starts with le, like lettuce. So sometimes we go lechuga, lettuce. Lechuga, lettuce. However, that type of trick really only helps us recognize it with our eyes, right? When we see the word lechuga, we go, oh, okay, I see. It's lettuce. Okay, I got this. But later, when we want to say lettuce, we can't find it. We're like, something. It kind of looked similar. What was it? So last year, some students said it sounded like chewy. All right, the chuga part. And then we started thinking about like, ooh, chewy lechuga sounds disgusting. So we go, no chewy lechuga, right? Or chewy lechuga is gross. However you want to do it, that you get the picture of lettuce, even though maybe it's not the kind of lettuce you want, right? We don't want chewy lechuga. We want crisp lechuga, but it will still help you get that chuga out on the end. So chewy lechuga, no chewy lechuga, right? Lechuga. The next one, the trick we've come up with so far for this one, really just helps us recognize it, but we still have trouble pronouncing it. So maybe one of these years we're going to come up with an additional trick that's going to help. First, let's learn it. It's maíz. Maíz. Now, if you know a lot about corn, you know that there's another word for it, and that's maize. Typically, we call wild varieties of corn maize. So when you see around Halloween time, all like the orange and black and purple varieties, we call that maize. So that looks very similar to maize. It's M-A-I-Z-E for maize. So there's a cognate there that can help you. Now maize also sounds like a corn maze, which around Halloween time is also perfect because corn mazes are a thing that we go through when we go to the pumpkin patch, and after going on a hay ride, we might go through the corn maze. So maíz, and we think of a corn maze. However, you might already be noticing that maize and maíz sound pretty different. Okay, so one thing, sometimes in class I'm really silly. I offered to give the corn and they go, no, maíz, right? It's totally silly. It makes no sense if you try to explain it, but the idea of holding on to it and being like, my corn helps with the maíz. Maíz. So we want to try to get the sounds right. Maíz. 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 Okay, so this one might be easy to recognize, but it's still going to take a little bit of work to totally memorize. Like when you want to say corn, you just come up with maíz. Okay, the next one on our list, this comes in on page 4 if you're following along in your packet. This one is called cebolla. Cebolla. Okay, so cebolla has 2 L's. Remember, 2 L's make a Y sound. Cebolla. Now that leaves us with the sound of like boy. Okay. Onions, one thing I know about onions is when you cut them, usually, sometimes you get lucky, but usually there's this kind of oil in the onion that when you cut it, it releases and it floats up and gets in your eyes and it burns like the dickens, right? So we start to cry. When I was little, I thought that adults got sad from cutting onions. I didn't understand that it's burning and that's why your eyes are watering, right? It's like it's an instant reaction to try to clean them out. So now when we say this, we can add a trick, and I have another drawing. I just have to find which one. Oh no, where'd it go? Oh, I don't have it. Okay, so I can show you, and I'm gonna have to find this in my office later. So what we do is we pretend like we're cutting onions, and then we think about that feeling, and now we think of the sound like boy, like oh boy, and we shout cebolla. Okay, are you practicing that with me? Cebolla. And I promise you, if you practice cebolla while acting out the pain in your eyes, you're gonna remember what the cebolla is. Okay, so that is my recommendation. And I had a cute little picture, but apparently I left it behind. Okay, the next one, we have a very silly trick for this, and a student made it in my very first year of teaching, which was 2009-2010 school year, and it has been working for kids ever since. So first, let's learn how to say it normally, and then I'll teach you the trick. So it's zanahorias. Zanahorias. It's kind of a long one, so Z goes S, silent H, so just kind of ignore it, and an S at the end because we have more than one carrot in this picture, right? So zanahorias. If you have just one carrot, zanahoria. Okay, zanahoria. Now, my first year of teaching, this student, I still remember who it is, he kind of exclaimed in the middle of class. And he was like, that sounds like son of Oreos. And at first I was a little irritated because I thought he was being silly and off task. But you know what? Every kid in his class started thinking son of Oreos, and they got this picture of, a mom and a dad Oreo, and their son was a carrot, and it worked for them. Okay? And so I did eventually draw a picture here. So you see 2 Oreos, and the son of Oreos is a carrot. Okay? So it's kind of a silly trick, but it has worked for so many kids. If it doesn't work for you, then you want to just kind of like chug on through. Zanahoria, zanahoria, zanahoria. But if that picture makes sense to you, right? And this is a good trick because not only does it help us kind of get close to saying zanahoria, son of Oreos, but it also helps us get a picture of the carrot in our head, right? So we kind of need both parts of the trick. Now, if you do use zanahorios, just be careful and make sure that you are flipping your pronunciation back to Spanish. Because if you go and you order carrots in another country, you go, me gustarían los zanahorios. They're going to look at you like, what? What in the world is this child saying to me? So, zanahoria. Zanahoria. Okay, the next one can be so tricky. This is what we call a false cognate because it makes you think it's one word based off of what you know about English, but it means another one. Sometimes false cognates can be our trickiest words to learn. All right, so let me show you what this word is. Well, what it is first. So we're going to talk about cucumber, and its name is pepino. El pepino. Pepino. Yep. The pep makes you think of pepper, right? But this is not a pepper. So our first step to learning this is pepino is not a pepper. Not a pepper, okay? Pepino is not a pepper. Pepino is a cucumber. So some tricks that kids have come up with in the past use the peas. Which one did I write down here? So we said, I cut my pepino into pieces. Okay, I cut my pepino into pieces, and we think about these nice little slices. Also, if you know about pickles, pickles are pickled cucumbers. So pickling is a process where you kind of marinate a vegetable or something in kind of like a vinegar solution. I'm not sure everything that's in there. And I guess, I don't know if we think that pickled cucumbers are the tastiest of all, but these are the ones that we gave the name pickle. But you could pickle, I've heard pickled tomatoes and pickled peppers and pickled pig's feet, all kinds of things. But if you know that cucumbers make what we think of as the classic pickle, we can say, pepinos make pickles. So again, we're going to use the alliteration of the piece or the repetition of those pieces. Pepinos make pickles. Okay, awesome job. This one might take a little bit of work, but you will get there. Okay, these are beans. So these look like, I don't know, maybe kidney beans, brown beans, something. Frijoles. Frijoles. Okay, frijoles. So J makes an H sound. Frijoles. Some kids, kid a couple years ago, he's now in 5th grade, came up with the trick, and I apparently don't have this one either. He said Fritos and frijoles. Okay, so I had drawn a picture of Frito chips, you know what they are, the little corn chips, and some beans, and I drew them as friends, so they were holding hands. So Fritos and frijoles, and the word Frito helps you with the free part of frijoles. Fun fact, frito just means fried, so your Frito chips are just fried little corn chips. But when you think about them together, it kind of reminds you of the idea of walking tacos, where you take those corn chips and then you put some taco meat in there and some lettuce and whatever else you like, maybe some beans, some frijoles, and then you just kind of eat out of the bag with a fork. So walking tacos is not such a strange idea to have Fritos with your frijoles. And then if you want to talk about specific type of frijoles, you can just use a color after. So black beans are my favorite, frijoles negros. Red beans, frijoles rojos. White beans, frijoles blancos. Depending on where you live, beans can have different names too. In Spain, they're alubias, and in the Caribbean islands, they tend to be called habichuela. Okay, so we're going to use frijoles for now, but be on the lookout. The word can change depending on where you are. Okay, now green beans. I used to teach frijoles verdes for this, but I'm finding out that this term is way more popular than that, so we're going to switch this year to judías verdes. Now, why they have a different name and they're not called beans, I'm not sure how to explain that to you, but I know that this is what they're called, judías verdes. Now, the word verde will help you out a lot. Judías verdes. Judías verdes. It makes me think of like who, or like whose are these, or something like that. So you can maybe play around with some possible tricks in your head, but like judías, like who do these belong to, right? Judías verdes. Whose green beans are these? Judías verdes. Okay, so that one might be tricky. Now here's one that should not be tricky, but always is, just because the word is so different. It's a short word though, so it should be easier. So this is apio. Apio, celery. Apio. Now I did come up with the trick a couple years ago, and I do have it with me. We realized, actually I didn't come up with this trick. A student I had came up with this trick, and he said apio rhymed with rápido, fast, which I usually use when you ask me to go to the bathroom or get a drink. I'll be like, rápido, rápido. Okay, so we drew a picture of fast celery. Apio rápido. Go ahead, say it. Apio rápido. And if you get this picture of fast celery in your head, that's going to help you both pronounce apio, but also remember that apio is the celery. Okay, apio rápido. Apio rápido. Okay, we're down to our last two words. Hooray! Okay, so here is our pepper, which I've included mostly to help us try to keep pepino straight as cucumber. And then we're going to learn this is pimiento. Pimiento. Okay. I don't really have a good trick for this one at the current moment. Nothing has come up with me or my students. But sometimes we just want to include the false cognate in the list to try to keep them separated. When you get to third grade in our restaurant unit, we're going to learn the word for pepper as in the seasoning, like salt and pepper, and that will be pimienta. So that one will be a little easier because they're the same word in English, but in Spanish, one is considered a boy word, the vegetable, and the other one is considered a girl word, the spice. So pimiento, pimienta. Maybe I put pimienta on my pimiento. We could think about that. Not sure. If you come up with any great tricks, be sure to let me know. And here's our last one, and probably the hardest word. Now, my students have developed this awesome sense of grit, and when I tell them that a word is hard, they go like, challenge accepted. I'm going to get that word. So this is your challenge. Ready? Let's first listen to it. Guisantes. Guisantes. So yeah, they're peas. You see them in the pod here. Guisantes. Now, why is this word hard? 1, it sounds nothing like peas. 2, it's a long word. 3, we have some spelling patterns in here that we don't understand based upon what we know about English, right? So G, U, and then another vowel means that this is going to be a hard G. Normally, we only can have a hard G next to an O or a U or an A, right? G-I and G-E are going to make a soft G. But when we put G and then a U in between that vowel that would make the G soft, makes a hard G. So, guisantes. Guisantes. Now, did you hear that this part, geese, sounds like geese, like the birds, right? So this brings us to our final picture trick, and that is geese eat guisantes. And look at these geese, and they're eating some peas on the ground, guisantes. So this trick, if you practice it at home, this trick is really going to help you learn because the geese is going to help you pronounce guisantes, and it gives you a picture of both the geese and the guisantes, the peas, okay? So geese eat guisantes. Okay, so for the first week of learning vegetables, 1, 2, 3, 4, I believe there's 12 words here. So we're going to study the first half of this, or the first 6. I always recommend starting with the easiest 6 to kind of build your confidence. That will take you up until the carrots. If you're feeling adventurous, feel free to go beyond that. But remember, when we break our learning up into smaller pieces, that can help us go faster. So even if you feel like, ooh, these 6 are, they're kind of a more challenging 6 than with the fruits, maybe say, okay, let me do 3. And then when I master those 3, I'll move on and I'll do the second 3. Okay? You have a whole week to get this done. You could even say I'm going to do 1 word a day. And honestly, guys, broccoli, say that a couple more times and you're done with it. So now you're already down to 5. Once you build your confidence with the first 6, then in the second week of this unit, you're going to feel a lot better about having just 6 more, even if they are the hardest 6, because you're going to be almost there to mastering them all. Plus, in our second lesson with vegetables, we're going to be doing activities to make sure that you're using the vegetables in class. So in our 40 minutes together, you should already be building your confidence. But remember, if you're not doing the work at home for those first 6, right? If you're not learning at least most of them, right? You don't always have to be perfect. You don't always have to nail down all 6. But if you've come back and you've not done any learning and you try to get all 12 in that lesson, you're going to feel a little bit more overwhelmed. So just trust me, 6 the first week or as best as you can. And then we'll have another class where we get to use them in class. We get to do games. We get to do another matching activity. And then you go home and you finish off whatever hasn't stuck yet, okay? If you have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is jessica_taylor@fcasd.edu. And I'll see you in class. Adios.